All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Christian Metivier. I'm a senior designer here at Sac State. And today I will be teaching you some motion graphics and how it can be applied to different content. And also be doing a quick tutorial for you guys. So first, I just kind of want to do a quick presentation for you guys to kind of show you some of my work, tell you what motion graphics is good for. And finally, just a basic run through of the tutorial. So I don't just like throw you guys in the fire today. So. Oh, well, okay. So what are the benefits of motion graphics? So in my opinion, I like motion graphics because it's additive to what we've been learning in this program. A lot of us have all these project files that we have in Illustrator and Photoshop. And what people don't know is most of these project files are already set up to be animated because, you have all your layers set up and, all your elements and assets ready to be exported. So that's why I like it. Photoshop and Illustrator with After Effects is like almost like peanut butter and jelly. Like they're the perfect mixture. So it's a perfect thing to add to your toolkit of skills, and employers will really love it because we're going into an age where everything is digital, and it's much easier to show motion with advertising. And it's not just high production companies doing motion graphics, it's people like us that are getting these gigs. So first application is some digital signage here. This is from my last project from last semester, I believe 155 or 145. And this is just animation of the schedule for the event. And as you can see on the right, it's a little mock-up of where it's like on a TV screen. And pretty much like every restaurant nowadays has TVs as their menus, and those are all motion graphics. Here's another one of our projects from last semester. This is Kelly's Herky project. And this is just like a quick, like little advertising, just kind of going through like the brand and it's like, slogans and whatnot. A lot of companies that make videos, they have like splash intros that they have for all their videos. So this is just like a quick, like, introduction to kind of get the vibe of the company. Also like Instagram stickers. Here's like a company that came to me and they just wanted some quick animations of their logos just so they can throw it up on their Instagram stories. So I thought that was a pretty unique application of motion graphics. And finally, one of my favorites that I like to do, and it kind of like allowed me to really like learn more about motion graphics, is animating song covers. One of the main reasons I actually like motion graphics is because a lot of the times you're just given the designs. Like designing a logo takes a shitload of creative energy. And sometimes it's like you just don't have that energy to do it. So motion graphics, it's very practical. A lot of the things you're going to be doing is like based off your observations, like a movement, like, so it's more fun and less creative, in my opinion. It still takes some creativity, but it's a lot less stressful. It can get stressful, trust me, but it's a different type of muscle you'll be flexing as opposed to like straight design. And here's just an example. I didn't make these, but here's an example of how we're moving in an age where motion graphics is used. This is Spotify. I'm sure most of you know, like artists are able to put motion graphics in the background of some of their things. And I just feel like it's a better way to like promote yourself and like kind of show who you are as an artist, as opposed to just like, a picture. So I'll be going into a quick little overview of the process today that we're going to be doing. And we're actually going to be doing it on SZA's SOS album. I chose this because it's super simple. There's like only three elements we're going to be working with, which is the background, the foreground, which is her, and the like little diving board she's sitting on. And it gives me an opportunity to kind of animate humans and also animate like natural things such as water, leaves, clouds, and whatnot. So here's what you would be expecting to do. We're going to be going into Photoshop first. And oh yeah, here's the final result that you guys will be doing. As you can see, it's a quick animation loop. It's only 5 seconds and only between 2 keyframe points. So it's very, very straightforward and simple loop. So to start off, what we need to do is separate each of our elements we're going to be animating into each of their own layers. So this means some layers need to be filled in because you're going to have holes where you're going to be masking the things out. And other things you're just going to be masking out. So it's a lot of masking and filling in. So here's me, as you can see, I took the water background and I filled in that hole that would have been made if I master out using the content aware tool. Using the object selection tool, I was able to mask out the main subject. And then finally, using just a mask and content aware tool, I was able to get a clean slate of this diving board she's sitting on. And one of the best things is once you set everything up in Photoshop, everything is ready to go straight into After Effects. All the layers you set up imports like seamlessly right into After Effects. So like you're doing all the dirty work in Photoshop. And once you put it into After Effects, it's just kind of like fun from there. It's just a lot of trial and error, just going through all the different settings. And yeah, so it's a little bit less stressful once you get into After Effects. And then here's the animation that will be applied to the background, which will be, I will be using a wave warp plugin that comes with the program, which is called Turbulent Displacement. And I like literally use this effect all the time, especially with anything like natural, like trees, clouds, water. It's like one of the perfect effects you can apply. Next, I'll also be teaching the puppet tool, which, as you can see, it has points. You can add points on any object really, but it's really meant for like human-like figures. So pretty much these points will kind of represent joints. So I like to put them on any areas that I know that I'm going to be moving and bending. So I try to like apply it on places where, you know, it makes sense, like the knees and the elbows and the neck and back and whatnot. And then here's what it would look like with the animation applied to that. And then finally, the diving board, we'll be using anchor point and rotation. And this is just a very simple up and down motion. And paired with the animation we did with the pin tool on Scissor over here, it kind of works cohesively, as you can see. And then here is all the animation put together. And then for the final step, I kind of like add, you know, just a little bit of flair to it. So I added like a film burn and some film grain to it, just to kind of give it some personality and like sell the motion side of it. And then here's just the before and after results. As you can see, it's like, it's subtle, but you know, it does a lot. Oh, and then thanks for listening, but we're just going to go straight into the tutorial from here. Okay. All right, so first we're going to open Photoshop, and I'm not sure if you guys downloaded the file from Discord. Valentina, you did, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, so you guys can follow along, or you can just watch and then maybe like go back to the recording later. But if you guys get lost, just please let me know and I'll try and help you as much as I can. So what we're going to be doing is there's a PNG file in this which is the SZA SOS album. And I'm just going to go drag this into Photoshop and make a new project. Have any guys had any experience with motion graphics or here and there? Yeah, I think it's pretty good because last semester they actually introduced motion graphics to the program. So I felt like it was a pretty good And I think it's just like something fun to do, you know? You good, Julian? All right, cool. Okay, so what we want to do, we have three, as I showed you in the presentation, we have three elements we want to put on their own separate layers. So what I'm going to do right off the bat is I'm just going to duplicate this layer right off the bat, which is Command J or Control J. And I'm just going to duplicate this layer on the bottom right 3 times. And I'm just going to rename them right now just to get it out of the way. I'm going to name this bottom layer the water layer. I'm going to name this middle layer diving board. And this top layer scissor. So I'm just going to turn the top 2 off, and I'm going to focus on the water right now. So for this one, it's pretty easy since the water is like very random. Like I'm going to use the content aware tool, which is like kind of perfect for this kind of scenario. I'm just going to do a very rough mask around her. You don't need to be very accurate in this step because, like I said, the content aware tool is pretty good at patching in some of these holes. And then, so I'm going to go to File. Where is it? Edit. Yeah, edit. And then I'm going to go to this content aware section right here. And it should bring up this little window, and pretty much everything you see that's green is the sample area that the AI or whatever is in charge of this is going to sample from and fill in our hole. So say there's like another object in here and you see green and you don't want it to sample from that, you will just have to like click on it and then drag it like that. And then sometimes if you see it's kind of wonky, which it looks pretty decent right now, like sometimes I just like do a few minor adjustments there, and as you can see, it kind of like it gives it a different sample. So I'm going to apply this because I think it looks pretty decent where it's at. Okay, actually you press apply and then you press okay. I just couldn't see it because the window right here. Okay, so now we have, what that does is actually creates a new layer. And Command D deselects the mask if, and so it pretty much makes a layer, a patch layer on top of the water layer. So what we want to do is just select both layers, the water copy and the water. And then I'm just going to right click, and then I'm just going to merge the layers. And that basically combines it into one as one layer. Okay, so now we got that out of the way. I'm going to move on to the second layer, which is the diving board. Yeah, I'll do that. And for this one, I'm just going to use like a basic mask tool. You can there's like a lot of ways to mask. I know some people like to use this mask tool, but I'm kind of old school. I just use this quick selection tool up here. And then I'm just going to start masking this diving board. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mask it as if SZA isn't sitting on it. So I'm going to like just kind of eyeball the perspective and then do something like that. And it's going to be covered by her in After Effects, but it is good to just kind of get the original shape of it in the mask. So what I do is I mask that. And then once you have it masked, let's see. I'm going to click on the layer, make sure the layer is selected. I'm going to move this. And then we're going to click this mask layer tool down here. Okay, so what that does is it pretty much isolates our mask. And then just another way to kind of show the power of the content aware tool, even though this is not very necessary because when I import this into After Effects, we're going to overlay the top layer, which is the SZA, is going to be on top of this. But what I like to do, just in case, I'm going to mask this shadow out right here. I'm just going to do this. And then from here, actually, don't mask all that out. Just mask to like up here, and I'll show you why. you don't want to mask the whole shadow. So I'm just going to repeat the process, edit, content aware fill. And here's a good example of the sample. So as you can see, the algorithm is sampling this white down here, but I don't, as you can see, it's kind of messed up in the content aware because of that white. So I actually want to get rid of all this white. And I only want to, I believe if you press Option or Alt on PC, you're going to see a plus sign, and that's going to be additive. So I'm going to add just a little bit more of this shadow. And then I think the results here are good enough. Like I said, it's going to be covered. I just do it just in case, I run into the problem. I don't have to go back in and then fix that and just kind of like ruin my flow. So I'm just going to press OK to there. And then we have our diving board layer. And then finally, oh, yeah, like I said, you're going to have to Command D, and then you're going to want to merge these layers together. And that creates one diving board layer. Okay. And then finally, we're going to focus on the main subject here, which is SZA. And then I'm going to use, what tool is it? Sorry. I probably should be a little bit more prepared for this, I believe. Object selection tool. Didn't you guys know that? Object selection tool? Oh, here we go. Object selection tool. Okay, it's the magic wand tool. I'm sorry about that. So basically, did you guys get that? The object selection tool, you have to hold down the magic wand option. And then I'm just going to hover over, and then it kind of gives you what's going to be masked out. I'm just going to drag and click over it. Uh-oh, there you go. Okay, so as you can see, it masked out pretty well, but there are some areas that need to be fixed here, such as her back calf right here. And then there's also like another hole right here that we have to patch up. So to patch this little mess up right here, I'm going to click this mask tool, and I'm going to hold Shift. And as you can see, there's a plus sign that appears on there. And I'm basically just going to follow her calf line right here. And then I'm just going to fill in this mask I don't want. And then as you can see, that fixes that. And then opposite to that, I'm going to fill in, since we're actually adding the mask here, I actually want to get rid of this hole. So instead of pressing Shift and adding, I'm going to hold Option, and this will take out something from the mask. So I'm going to zoom in, and I'm just going to do like a quick mask on her boots right here. And I'm just going to fill in this hole. And then here we go. We have a pretty decent mask. There is like a little hole right here in the hair, but I'll take it out. I don't think that would be much of a problem, but just for the sake, it might be a problem. I'm just gonna get rid of it here. And then so, yeah, that's pretty much our last step. And then we're just gonna repeat the process of pressing this little layer mask button down here. And voila, we have all of our layers on their separate layer. And this is actually ready to go into After Effects. So what we're going to want to do is just save as, and then just save it anywhere where you can easily find it. Since I already have a file, I'm just going to use the file I already have set up for you guys. And then we're going to be opening After Effects now. So now's a good time to get that loaded. Honestly, PNG or JPEG. It doesn't really matter. Like I usually use PNG. Mhm. Oh, actually, no, you just save it, the file, the PSD file. Yeah. So yeah, that's one of the good parts. It's like it reads PSD files. Okay. So I'm gonna open up After Effects here. I probably should have had it open already. And then I'm gonna drag this PSD file straight. I'm just gonna drag it right here into this like little area. And oh, actually, no, that doesn't work. I'm gonna press new project. Okay. So I'm just gonna do like a quick run through of the layout of After Effects, because I know like this is like almost second nature to me, but sometimes like I expect other people to just know this stuff, but yeah, I'm just gonna go over. So this panel on the left side is our project browser. So this is kind of where all your content will be found. This bottom panel is our timeline where we'll be editing for the most part. Kind of think of this as like the layers tab in Photoshop. On this side right here, we have like our effects. So we're going to be using this to search up some of our effects. And then this is just like the different tabs you can open up, like a character and whatnot. So we're going to go to File, and we're going to go to Import File. And then let's see, I have a Dropbox. And then we're going to import our PSD file from here, which is this one. And then this prompt will come up. So I think right off the bat, it's not the right setting. So you're going to want to go to this drop-down box and then click this composition retain layer size. And then make sure this editable layer styles is selected as well. Is everyone still with me? Is everyone behind or anything, or need any what's up? Let me... Thankfully, that was an easy fix. Okay, we're all waiting on. I'm just kidding. Let me know when you got After Effects open. It's pretty simple so far, though, right? You guys are following?
I'm not doing it, but it seems simple.
Thank you. I know I'm a little bit more, I thought I was gonna be a little bit more nervous, but whew. Don't jinx myself, like my computer crashes or something.
Yeah, actually, I want to knock, yeah, I want to knock on some wood, man. Just in case.
You good? Do you have this right settings? The drop-down box, it should be the last one, retain layer sizes and editable layer styles. And I'm just gonna press OK. Okay, so as you can see, this added this little project file right here on the left side. Did it all show up for you guys? Okay, so what we're gonna do is double click on that. And as you can see, our file with all three layers are set up for us. And I'm just gonna turn off all the layers for you guys to see. So we have clean slates of all the layers that we want to animate. Okay, so I'm gonna just turn off the top two layers, and I'm gonna focus on the background layer for now. Mainly because I know this, like, this will kind of get the ball rolling and like kind of get the creativity flowing. And I know it's like an easy effect to put on this water. So what we want to do is make sure our water layer is selected, and we're going to go to this tab called Effects and Presets. And then we're going to search for an effect called Turbulent Displace. And as you can see, it's right here. Is that all showing up for you guys? Good. And then we're going to drag this right onto our water layer. Okay. So as you can see, it's pretty ugly right now. But through settings, you can really like adjust it to make it look natural. So I actually like went through the hassle of finding good settings. So I wrote this down. So there's a drop down box. There's different styles of warping this does. So like, for example, turbulent is kind of just like the basic horizontal and vertical, like evenly waved. Bulge, honestly don't know what, but they all look different. Twist, and it's kind of just trial and error. You just want to like look through what looks best. But for this one, horizontal is what I found like looks very natural. And then to kind of like preview how this is going to animate, do you guys see like this like little pie chart looking thing right here in the settings? So this basically controls the evolution of the animation. And as you can see, since I chose the horizontal wave, it's only making the waves go left and right, which is seems pretty realistic to me. So just a basic run through. These values right here are from 0 to 360, and 360 is pretty much a full revolution. What you want to do is you see evolution options on the tab drop down box below. You want to click this box that says cycle evolution. And this basically means that at every 0 or 360 degrees, you're going to have the same frame. So without that, it's not going to loop correctly. So you want to make sure you have that selected. And then this first number right here before the degrees is how many times a revolution is. So say like I want it to have go over 3 times, then I would just animate this number to say 3. If that, I know it sounds kind of confusing, but I'll just put this at 0. And then what I want to do is click this keyframe button, which looks like a stopwatch right here. And you want to make sure you're on the timeline, you want to make sure this cursor right here is on the very first frame. Okay. And then we're going to click the stopwatch button, and that's going to add a keyframe. And to see the keyframe, it doesn't show up automatically. You're going to click on the layer and press U. And what U does, it basically brings up all the keyframes you have on a certain layer. And as you can see, here's the single keyframe I made. And it's not going to do anything until we add another keyframe. So what I'm going to want to do is go to the very end, go in the last keyframe right here. And then, let's see. Okay. And then I'm going to go to the evolution and then click on this first value, not the second, the first one. And I'm going to press 2. So what that's basically telling the program is throughout these 2 keyframes, I'm going to do 2 revolutions of animation. So as you can see, I'm just going to run through this. It should loop perfectly. So yeah, so we have a loop here. Are you guys with me? Okay. And then this is looking pretty good so far, but it's still kind of like not where it needs to be. So I already kind of went through some of these settings just to kind of fine tune it. So for the amount, I'm going to change the amount to 12. this next setting, which is size, I'm going to change that to 200. And then I'm going to keep everything else the same. Okay, so what that basically did is kind of made the waves a little bit bigger to kind of match the waves on our image. So like, oh, did you have a question? Yes. Ooh, you're smart. Thank you. Okay, so I probably should have prefaced that. This is a 5-second loop. So what we're going to want to do is move our keyframe closer because to our first keyframe. Because once we change our project and we trim it to 5 seconds, that next keyframe is not going to show up. So make sure your keyframe's kind of close to your first one. And then thank you, Adriana, by the way. I'm going to go to right click on the background right here and then go to composition settings. And oh, so the duration is already set to 5 seconds. I don't know about you guys. Is it set to 5? As you can see down here. We're good?
I don't have the program with that modeling.
No, it's okay. But did you guys check it? Make sure your composition is 5 seconds. So you're going to want to go to this duration and then make sure this is a 5 with 2 zeros. Okay, so I actually did have the composition at 5 seconds, but I should have prefaced that we need to make our composition 5 seconds from the get-go. Okay, so I'm going to move this keyframe back to where it was before at the very end. Okay, and I'm just going to run through this one more time. Okay, this is what we got, but it's a little bit too horizontal right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drag another turbulent displace effect, and I'm going to drag that right underneath our first one right here. Okay. And then for this one, I'm going to keep it turbulent because I do want some of this, that vertical motion peeking in there. But as you can see, it's a little bit too much. It just did not, it looks like some curly hair or something right here. So I'm going to change the amount down to 10. And then for the size, I'm going to make it bigger, which actually makes it more subtle than having it smaller. And then there we go. And then for this one, I'm going to add another keyframe and make sure you're on the first, make sure your marker's on the first keyframe right here. And then I'm going to go to evolution on the second turbulent displacement effect we have. Okay, and then I'm going to press the stopwatch again at 0, 0. Right here with these values. Okay, and then what you want to do to bring, that's not going to automatically pop up in your timeline. So what you want to do is press U. That's going to take away the keyframe, and then U again. It's going to reopen and then show all the new keyframes you just added. So as you can see, this is the keyframe I just added for the second effect. And then I'm going to go to the very last frame, and I'm actually going to move this so it matches right here. And then I'm going to only do one revolution for this one. Okay, so as you can see, that kind of adds slight vertical movement, so it's not all horizontal. Oh, and make sure, oh, here's a good example of not choosing this evolution options where you put cycle evolution. If you don't press that, as you can see, you're not going to have a perfect loop. Once it resets back to the first frame, as you can see that like little twitch that happens here, it's not a perfect cycle. So turning this checkbox on will fix that. And as you can see, we'll have a perfect loop here. Cool. So that's our water layer. Are you guys all with me? Okay, so I'm going to focus on animating the top 2 layers. So since these 2 layers are kind of like attached to each other, like she's sitting on the actual diving board itself, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-compose the top 2 layers into one layer, which is basically like grouping grouping objects, or if you guys know in Photoshop, making a smart object. That's basically what it's doing. So I'm gonna make sure both layers are selected. And then I'm gonna right click and press pre-compose right here. And then this is gonna give us a prompt to name our layer. So I'm just gonna do SZA plus diving board. This will make a little bit more sense as we continue, and I'll show you what's happening here. Okay, so as you can see, that kind of like merged both layers together into one layer. So say like put this drop down box. So say like I want to move it, it moves it together as one layer. Okay, but the best part about this is when you double click on this layer, it brings you to the isolated two layers you just grouped together. And this like allows you to kind of like compartmentalize everything. And then so you just don't have like a shitload of layers, you know, it's a lot easier to organize. Okay. So for this, I'm going to be focusing on SZA here. Okay. We're not going to really do anything with the diving board, but you'll see why I have them grouped up here in a minute. Okay. So what I'm going to do here, oh, I can't really see. Make sure the layer is selected, and then you'll see this like little pin looking thing, push pin tool at the very top. It's called the puppet position pin tool. And I'm going to click that. And this basically, wherever I click from now on, is going to be a point on the joint that we're going to be able to animate. Okay, so like I said, I like to do it on joints like the knee. I'm going to put one on the elbow here. And since her legs are connected, I'm going to put a point in the middle of both, and that'll kind of act as like a controller to animate both legs at once. But say her legs aren't, you know, close together and connected, I would animate both legs separately. Okay, so I'm just going to put one right there. I'm going to put one on her lower back and her upper back. And then also, you kind of have to have an idea of how you're going to animate her. So since I kind of want her head to like tilt up, I'm going to need two positions on her head. So I'm going to have one down here and then one up here. And that'll allow me to kind of get an angle, you know, on it. Okay, so I probably should have told you guys to make sure your keyframe markers on the first keyframe for this. Let me know if you guys didn't have your keyframe marker on the first keyframe while you put those points on the on our layer here. Okay. So I'm just gonna press U on the keyboard, and as you can see, all these puppet pin tools that I put, they all have their own keyframes that was made. Okay. So what I want to do now is I can either keep I'll do it like this. So since we're going to have a loop, I'm going to go to like the middle of my composition, which is like around here. And then I'm going to animate what I think a swinging motion will be. So this kind of just takes a little bit intuition. So I'm just going to move her legs back a little bit. And you got to kind of want to be careful with how much you're moving, because if you move too much, it's going to distort it. So you kind of want to be subtle, really subtle with what you're doing. Okay, so when I'm thinking of like how people swing on swings, like when you kick out, you usually lean back. So when she's kicking back, she kind of leaning forward. So since I moved her legs back, I'm going to move her lower back a little bit like this. And then maybe move her bottom chin, and then try to match the top portion of her head so it doesn't distort her head very much. And I'm going to just do a quick like little bend of the elbow here. Okay. And then as you can see, we're kind of starting to get a little animation here going. And then, like I said, it's a lot of trial and error. So you're going to be just making sure like nothing looks very distorted or anything like that. So think that's looking pretty good. I'm gonna go back and hover over my first keyframe. And then I'm going to just exaggerate like a kick out a little bit. So I'm going to move her legs forward. I'm making sure I'm on the first keyframe for this one. And I'm going to move her back a little bit more back. Move this forward. I mean, back and then. Okay. So let's see how this is looking. Okay, so as you can see, that looks pretty decent. It can obviously be better, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to leave it at that. And then one more thing we need to do is, as you know, there's some points I did not move and make a keyframe for, such as the knee right here. And you can see that there's not a keyframe that was made for that. So just to make it easier on myself, I'm going to manually keyframe here and just fill in all the holes. So I have 2 keyframes I did not keyframe, but I still want to make sure that all the keyframes I assigned or all the pins I assigned all have a middle keyframe here, okay? So in order to make this loop, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drag on the timeline and a little box is gonna show. And then you can actually copy these keyframes, your starting keyframes, and then press Command C. And then we're going to go to the very end of our composition here and Command V. And that basically just takes your first keyframes and matches up with your last keyframes. So you're creating a loop. And then I'll just play that for you guys here. Okay. So as you can see, it looks good, right? But it's a little bit too linear. Like the movements are jagged. Like every time she leans forward and back, it just did not look smooth. So there's a way, and that's basically because the keyframes are seen as linear here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all the keyframes I just made, and then there's a way to smooth some of these movements out by right-clicking and sorry. There we go. I don't know why this, but make sure you're right-clicking on the keyframe itself. And then this box will show up, and then you see keyframe assistant down at the bottom. And then what we're going to do is click this easy ease setting right here. Okay, as you can see, our keyframes look different now. And this basically just shows that we have an easy ease. And just kind of like, I know it's going to be kind of confusing. I'll kind of show you what's happening here. Never mind, I'm not going to show you that because I honestly don't even understand it. But that basically, as you can see, it's not jagged anymore. It's like it kind of tapers out. So it's more like natural looking. Okay. So I think we're good with our animation we have here. And then at this tab, these are where all your compositions are. So I'm going to go click back to my main composition with my water layer. And we should have some animation going on here with the water along with the puppet tool we just did on the composition layer we just made. Okay, so that's looking pretty good, but as we know, we still need to animate the diving board to make it, to sell it. And then what we're gonna wanna do is there's a tool right here, the pan behind tool or the anchor point tool. So I'm just gonna describe to you what this does. So say I want to rotate this pre-comp layer I just made. And then you're gonna wanna click on this drop-down box and then it should be a transform tab. And then I'm gonna rotate this. But as you can see, it's rotating from the center. And that's because the anchor point is in the center of the layer, okay? So what this tool does is I can drag this anchor point and I'm going to drag it at the very end of this diving board right here. Okay, so that's what that's gonna do is that's gonna tell the program, this is where we want the layer to pivot. So just imagine like a piece of paper and you put your finger on it and spin it. That's what the anchor point is. Okay, and basically Now, when we rotate it, yeah, it's natural. It looks like a diving board, okay? So I'm gonna go to the very first keyframe. And I'm going to click on the stopwatch for rotation. Okay, and then for this, let's see. I'm going to click on this degree right here on the second value. And I'm going to press 2. So that's basically saying I'm starting at a 2-degree angle. Okay, and then I'm going to go somewhere in the middle here. And then I'm going to click it again, and I'm going to click -1. Okay. And then finally, I'm going to go to the very end here, and I'm going to go back to 2. Okay, so I just pretty much made a loop for the diving board. And there it is. And as you can tell, it's kind of jaggedy, like SZA was before we did the easy ease on the keyframe. So I'm going to select these keyframes and just do the same process by right-clicking on one of these keyframes, go to the keyframe assistant and easy ease. And as you can see, we're like, what, 90% done here? And there was only like 20 minutes or something. So like I said, it's very fun. It's just like trial and error. There's not like, it's not like designing a logo where it's like, there's not an outcome you want. Like, it's just more like video games, I'd say. So yeah. As of now, a lot of people will kind of consider this like completed, but what I like to do is add a little bit more pizzazz to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make another pre-comp layer, and I'm going to make sure both of these layers here are selected, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to press pre-compose. Okay, so I'm going to name this layer, I'm going to say final, because we all love the word final, right? Final animation. Okay, so what this does is it basically combines all the animation we did into one layer, and it's like treating it as a video now. So everything will be moved together. So let's see what I did here. Okay. So what I kind of like to do is I like to add a little bit more movement. So it kind of seems like, there's like a camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this drop down box and go to this transform drop down. And I'm going to press the stopwatch on the scale button. Okay. And then like everything else, I'm just going to go somewhere in the middle. And I am going to increase the scale to like I'll do like 106. Okay. And then I'm going to just repeat the process of going to the last frame and then moving it back to 100. And then, as you can tell, it just kind of does a subtle zoom in and then a zoom out. And this isn't necessary, but I think it just kind of adds a little bit to the motion side of it. And then, like we did with our other keyframes that we looped, I'm going to select all the keyframes here. I'm going to right click, and I am going to keyframe assistant and easy ease. Okay. So as you can tell, that just makes it a little bit more smooth and natural, like someone is actually recording it and not like a robot, Okay, cool. So finally, I'm just going to add one more thing just to kind of, spice it up a little bit. I'm going to go to import and import file. And I added this like little video in the folder I gave you guys. It's called film grain. And once you upload that, it's going to show in our little content browser here. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to drag it right above this layer. And as you can see, it's like a pretty small file. So you're going to want to go to transform and then scale it up a little bit until it covers your frame here. And as you can tell, this is just like a, ooh. It doesn't fill the whole thing. Okay, well, this gives me opportunity to teach you guys another effect. Okay, so since this doesn't cover, there's like a quick frame that doesn't go all the way. I'm going to right click on this layer and then go to time and enable time remapping. Okay, so these keyframes basically represent the length of the video. So as a quick fix to this, I'm just going to move this keyframe over one, and this allows me to stretch this out and fix that little hole we had. And now it's it'll fully loop the whole animation. Okay, so once we have that done, there's a button down here that's called toggle switch modes. You see my cursor right here. And what that does is kind of switches our settings and it allows us to do blending mode. And what I'm going to do on this one, I'm going to choose lighten. And that basically just takes out all the blacks in your video and just keeps all the whites, which is the film scratches that we want. Okay, it's very subtle, but as you can see, like in the shadows, it's just giving you a little bit of texture. And this, like I said, it's not necessary. It's just like, it's just something I like to do whenever I do these. I like to add some sort of like overlay or something just to kind of distinguish it and kind of make it unique. Okay, and if you guys ever want to like drag the preview around, you just press space and you'll see a hand, and then you can just move around just to kind of, and then you can also like zoom in, pinch with your fingers. Okay, so we have one more final step here. The animation's done, but we're going to apply it to a song and make it so it loops the whole song. Okay, so just like we did before, we're going to select both layers and we are going to pre-compose. As you can tell, there's a lot of repeating going on here, and I'm just going to say final. How about that? Okay, so I'm going to go back to import, and then I'm going to import file, and I have an MP3 file right here from her album, and I'm just going to click on that and press open. Okay, and as you can see, it shows up right here in our browser. Okay, so for this one, since the song is longer than 5 seconds, we're gonna have to make a new composition with a new composition time duration. So to do that, I'm going to drag on this MP3 file here, and then I'm going to drag it at this little button down here. And this basically just takes the layer and makes its own composition from the layer. Okay, so now we have a composition that's the same length as the song we just made the composition from. All right, not time to get in the fields right now. Okay, so I'm good. In our browser, we have our final comp. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag that and then put it right above the song and then put on the keyframe. But as you can see, it's only 5 seconds long. So how do we loop that for the whole thing? Okay. So I'm going to introduce you to kind of the more advanced side of After Effects. Like even like I'm still like don't completely know this side, but if you watch YouTube videos, you'll just follow what people say most of the time. But what I'm going to want to do is right click on this final layer and go to time and enable time remapping. Okay, like I said before, these two keyframes I made represent our time duration. Okay, so what you want to do is you see this stopwatch right here. I think you have to select these keyframes. Okay, so we're going to press Option and click on the stopwatch right here. Okay, so what that does, as you can see, it brings up a little coding box. I know it's pretty scary, right? Okay, so there's a drop-down box like arrow right here that has like a little triangle in it. And this kind of just shows you the different expressions you can use. So let's see. I know it's one of these. Key. Project. Footage. Sorry. Loop out. I'm trying to look for loop out. Right click on the layer. Okay, so I can't find it from the Dropbox because I just totally forgot where it's at. But what you can do is go to this text box right here. And I'm going to type out loop out. And then as you can see, like this second option right here, it's loop out duration. I'm going to click that. And hopefully that works. I don't think it's going to work. Let's see. Oh, geez. Well, it works. So since we looped it, now I can drag the end of this. I'm over here screaming over the song. Okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna drag the end of this tail and I'm just gonna put it to the very end of the composition. And as you can see, there's a little error going on here with the loop where there's, you see that little black flash that's happening? Honestly, I don't even know why that's happening, but I know how to fix it. So basically, I'm just going to take this keyframe and I'm going to go one like frame over and I'm going to make a new keyframe and then I'm going to delete this end keyframe. Okay, so yeah, I'm basically shifting the keyframe over. I made a new keyframe to the one frame before the last keyframe. So that fixes it just because the last keyframe was nothing was occupying it. So this basically makes the loop so that it's skipping that black frame. And this is kind of where we just sit back and just admire our work. I think that's basically it. Yeah, you created a loop. You use the expression to take that 5-second loop, and it just allows you to extend it for as long as you want. And in this case, it's extending for the duration of the song. And then that's the process of animating photos. Obviously, I chose a pretty simple cover to do, but I feel like it goes over, the basic fundamentals of animating. For example, if I were to do this as a gig or something, a few examples that I would put more energy into is I would honestly put this forward leg on its own separate layer, and I will put this back leg on its own separate layer. And what I would probably do is, since this back leg, the end of the boot isn't showing, I would probably like sample this left boot here, and I would patch this so that way if I animate this front leg and it goes like over the second leg, it'll like have a clean slate. And I would probably animate each leg individually, you can also animate her hair to kind of like flow in the wind, but that would just take some trial and error. Like there's multiple ways to do it. So I didn't want to like overwhelm you guys. So that's another thing. I would probably use the turbulent displacement tool for her hair. And then, yeah, you can maybe like add a boat passing by or something. But yeah, that's pretty most for motion graphics, I would say like simplicity sells. Like you don't want to overcomplicate it. Like you want it to be as subtle as you can, because like when you when you like make it apparent that you're animating it, it just kind of makes it look corny. So you really want to have that fine line between effectiveness and subtleness. So yeah, is there anything else I want to tell you guys? Is the chat saying anything?
Or messages.
Okay, shout out to Adriana. I think that's it, guys. Thanks for following my tutorial. Really made me feel like a YouTuber because that's how I learned everything is just YouTube tutorials. And yeah, thank you guys for following along and taking the time to listen to me. Of course, yeah. Such a good opportunity, honestly. Should I stop sharing? Yeah, I'll probably do that. Bye, everyone. Hell yeah. Hey, Kelly.